Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the title, this is Prof getting political again. It is a follow-up video to the live stream that I did shortly after the presidential election called Prof Gets Political. And I've talked about politics occasionally since then, but always in the context of how that plays into Heroes and the platform that this channel was built on. So that's what I have to say today. Actually, quite a bit to say about that today. So I'm going to talk about what happened today first, and then I'm going to bring it into the Heroes and why it's linked to Heroes, specifically to our response if we're going to follow in the inspiration of our heroes, our aspirational heroes in particular. It's not even like the second day of Joe Biden's presidency. And Nancy Pelosi has now come out in a podcast, that I believe it was, and called any pro-life Catholic who voted for Trump basically a traitor to democracy. There's so many problems with this. First, let's delve slowly into that. First of all, let's do away with this nonsense title of pro-life Catholic. If you are a Catholic in good standing and you are practicing what your religion teaches, then you are pro-life. There's no question about it. Stop with this nonsense, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Tim Kaine, and any other Democratic politician trying to think that this is just, it's an issue that Catholics can disagree. No, baloney. Stop. That is a blatant, bold-faced sin that you are openly living in. And any priest or bishop with the fortitude of their office would deny you the Eucharist, and should, because you are openly living in that sin and even trying to actively engage and push people in and make that possible and increase that sin in the world. There's no such thing as a pro-life Catholic as opposed to a pro-choice Catholic. If you're practicing Catholic, you are pro-life, so stop it. That's nonsense. But you see what she's doing. She's trying to twist this narrative. She's trying to take a vitally important issue to Catholics and Christians in general, a fundamental issue. That's the most fundamental right in the world, is the fundamental right to life. And for a Catholic and a Christian in general, you don't even talk to us about the rights of people on welfare or immigrants or anything like that. Why would we believe anything you'd have to say about that if you can't even accept the most fundamental right we have as human beings, the right to life? But she's trying to just, with her language and with this kind of, casual brush aside of these different people, she's trying to say, no, she's trying to change this narrative and change the way language works. This is a common trope of the liberal ideologues whenever they get in office and get into power, or even not. She's also trying to say that the traitors to democracy, how you're going against democracy. Democracy is realizing that there are people who disagree with you, and that they're going to vote for people you don't want them to vote for. That's democracy, Nancy Pelosi. Stop it with this idea that we should just all be on the same page no matter what. Everybody calling for unity now. As I said before, of course you're going to hear calls for unity now because they've won. It's no longer time for the resistance. Now it's time for just shut up and agree and be one. This is par for the course when it comes to the liberal ideologues when they're in power. It doesn't matter what you think about politics, what party you prescribe to or subscribe to rather, or whatever side of the political spectrum you're on. It's really just a matter of history, as I said before, and this kind of links us into talking about how it relates to Heroes, that anytime the Democrats have been in power, they seek to ignore or marginalize and prosecute or persecute anybody who disagrees with them. Even when highly divisive Republicans have been in office, they can do plenty of things, and they can be mudslinging on either side and everything like that, but I've never seen a Republican president, in my lifetime anyway, pretend that the opposing side doesn't exist, or they're just so ridiculous they shouldn't even be considered, right? As I've said in previous videos, I remember when George W. Bush made everybody mad because he said, look, I'm the decider. I make the decision. Some people don't like it. I realize that, but this is my job, and these are my beliefs, and I'm the decider. Oh, that just rankled the Democrats everywhere, and the whole media is behind them. It's not brave to be the resistance when you're a liberal ideologue against a Republican president. You got the whole culture behind you. When talk about brave, try standing up and saying, hey, I voted for Trump, or I don't believe in this, and I'm actually more conservative. Try saying that in a world that is increasingly out to go after everybody in a witch hunt that doesn't agree with their policies. You're not wearing a mask, you should be fired. You're not, you voted for Trump, well, you can't have this job or whatever. I used to think this nonsense was just in the academic world, because I work in the academic world and I've been as a student long before that. And it's not. I mean, I remember going into a job in a writing center, and apparently there was a woman who had previously left the writing center before me, and they were still talking about her and rolling their eyes every time they mentioned her name, because she was vocal about supporting George W. Bush. Now, I don't believe in being vocal about your politics in school and in a classroom or anything like that, but this is also the same school in which you go into offices and the professors are proudly displaying their Obama, vote for Obama stickers on their filing cabinets, or I've had classes. I mean, going my master's in English, I mean, I had whole classes that were just ridiculous excuses for the professor to preach their politics and just go off on how much they hated Bush or the Tea Party or blah, blah, blah. This nonsense is just rife in academia, and you can only do it if you're on the right side, right? If you're talking with pushing the liberal ideology and talking about how stupid those Republicans are, right? That's allowed. If you dare do anything else, then you basically lose your job. You get fired. The ball starts to rolling. The rumor mill starts to happen. That's just the way it is in academia, but that's the way it is in the world now. This is what it has become, especially during the 4 years of Trump's presidency. I mean, you can't, how dare you admit in some circles that you don't want Biden as your president, or that you voted for Donald Trump. If you dare even say you voted for him, then automatically you are a Trump lover, you've fallen for his lies, you're on board with everything the man's ever said, as though that's ever been the prerequisite for voting for somebody. I mean, how many times have we had to vote for the lesser of two evils in this country? But nope, unless you're for them or you're against them, right? That's what George W. Bush was quoted as saying, something like that back during his presidency, and everybody thought it was so ridiculous. And George Lucas put it into the third Star Wars movie, and everybody's like, "Ha ha, we're calling out the evil Sith president we have." Barack Obama says it, and suddenly all the liberals are like, "Well, yeah, that makes sense." And this is how they're acting, right? You're for them or you're against them. Shut up and get on board, or you're a dirty Trump lover, and you deserve to lose your job and your right to exist, basically. So Obama did the same thing when he was in office. As I said before, it was I remember the first tax day in his first term of presidency when the Tea Party was doing a rally, and he just laughed it off and said, "They ought to be thanking me." And then, of course, when Congress lost tons of seats to the Republicans and took, as he said, the shellacking in that first term, he said, "Well, I should have explained my policies better, then people would agree with them." Because there's no way people could ever disagree with me. Never could you if you fully understood me, I'm so great. My policies are so clearly right and obviously brilliant that no one could ever disagree with them. I mean, that kind of absolute arrogance and condescension is just par for the course when it comes to any time liberal ideologues take power. And I do realize that there are plenty of people out there who just happen to have liberal politics and identify with the Democratic Party or whatever. And I've met some of them who are really in awe of the nonsense that the ideologues are pushing, and the way that they're pushing and trying to marginalize anybody who dares disagree with them. Sadly, though, we're going to face more of this. They've been gearing up for this and planning for this the whole time Trump was in office. They've got all of this rage built up in them, and they're just completely blasting it out now. I've mentioned before, too, that this kind of marginalizing and condescension from the liberal ideology, that's what gave us Trump in the first place. What I mean by that is that's what allowed so many people to finally get fed up with it and going to the voting booth who wouldn't normally vote otherwise. And it's just going to happen again. I mean, they're right there, whether it's Trump back in office or somebody else who's just like him or worse in the eyes of the Democrats or whatever. They're completely just working that up again. They're building toward it. But we have a Kamala Harris administration now that is very much going to try to slam down the fist as much as they can. I think we've become increasingly aware that, because the country is so polarized, as I've said before, it's not just a matter of, well, I wanted this person to win, but this person won. No, it's a matter of people have drastically different ideas about the fundamental way we should be allowed to run our lives in this country of America, the United States of America. So that's it's a big deal. So whenever it still is the case that whoever's in office can drastically push the country to one way or drastically push it back the other way. So whoever takes the power now is going to really work as hard as they can just to cram as many things through and force their agendas onto people. And that's what we're seeing with Trump and with Biden and Kamala Harris right now. We're seeing it. Nancy Pelosi, of course, right in their pocket. She's going to be playing along with this. The news that came out today, trying to marginalize anybody who dared think that babies' right to life was an important enough issue to vote for Trump on. How dare them? They're enemies of democracy. And this dangerous language that she used, she didn't use exactly those words, but something close to it. I forget exactly what she said, but that's the gist. That's the meaning she's putting out there. It's really dangerous. We are, at any moment. I mean, it's always, and you always, it's always something conspiracy theorists say, right? Oh, this president's going to be the one to put people this put the dissent in internment camps or whatever, and you want to avoid going to that kind of hyperbolic reactionary phrases, but the facts are piling up to the point where maybe not internment camps, but there are serious consequences. Even now, it's not exactly codified yet, but you do lose your job. You lose your job if you reveal certain things about you that you are not in step with the liberal ideology, that you actually even voted for this person. Now it's getting to that point. And, there are all kinds of things coming out now, propositions and ideas coming about, well, if you don't wear a mask, or if you don't get the vaccination, then you don't get a job, or you won't get this or that aid or something like that. It's pretty frightening where the country's going. So anytime now, our heroes in the hands of the liberal ideologues, we've seen this forever in Marvel, and then slowly it's slipped into DC as well. They try to pretend that their heroes are just like their liberal politicians. They're 100%. They try and pretend that Captain America would stand up for a socialized, country or whatever, and they pretend all these things, and of course they would all be good Democrats and vote good Democratic politics or whatever. As I've said many times, these heroes are above politics. You should never, that's even that stupid meme that had Superman slamming into the wall that apparently Trump was going to build, at the time, just to show this, he was an immigrant, he wouldn't be for that. Shut up. That's not even, that's the wrong context to even put Superman in completely. But that's not what superheroes are for. They're here to be above politics and to inspire us, regardless of what our politics are, to inspire us to proper behavior. And what is the proper behavior now? Well, I put that link up, the face up earlier of Captain America, his famous quote from Civil War, saying, when you know you're right, and it doesn't matter if the whole world, the media, the country, the politicians, everybody says you're wrong, your job is to plant yourself by that river of truth and say, no, you move. I'm not moving from that. I'm not going to be bullied by your narrative. I'm not going to allow you to push me off of my principles. I haven't changed. I've been here. America's been here, allowing me to do this forever. You don't get to come in now and suddenly change the whole narrative and change the whole dynamic of what it means to be American or what a democracy means. You don't get to do that. Now is the time to stand up like Captain America against this nonsense. Now is the time to stand up like Superman against the Lex Luthor regime. If you know that arc, when anybody who dared support Superman or act in any way that would aid him or whatever, you're traitors to the country, right? Because Lex Luthor had taken office. Democrats and the ideologues love to try to, paint Donald Trump as, any of the Marvel villains, or he's really like the Lex Luthor, he's a billionaire. We all know that billionaires are evil, blah, blah, blah. These are silly comparisons because the comic books should be above politics. And if you do have an evil politician in a comic book, it's a fictional character, like a Lex Luthor or like somebody else. So it's, at least it should be anyway, and when the mythologies work properly. That kind of flew out the window when every superhero was just falling all over themselves to high-five Barack Obama all of a sudden in Marvel Comics, which is ridiculous. If we want to really follow true aspirational heroism, it doesn't matter if you side more with the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. You should see what's going on, and that a valid side of the populace is being marginalized, pretending they don't exist, or being tossed aside as though they should be trod upon. Not only should we not pay any attention to them, but we should actively persecute them. We should give them consequences for believing the way they do and voting the way they do. That is not anything that any superhero worth their salt would stand up for. They would stand up against it. And that's what it means. You know, the ideologues love to call themselves the resistance during the Trump presidency. Well, now it's time for the actual resistance. It actually takes a lot of bravery because you're standing up against consequences. That actually takes true grit to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to pretend that your new story, your new narrative you're pushing right here is correct. You move. I'm still here standing on my principles, and I won't be moved from them. That's what heroism is. You know, that's why, again, I've said that this year I'm pushing for this channel to really highlight the aspirational hero and why we need the aspirational hero in our world today more than ever. And that means, you know, doing recommendations like I've done. It means highlighting good stories, you know, that are written that even if they don't show the aspirational hero, they're gonna at least honor aspirational heroism. And these stories too have nothing to do with politics. They have nothing to do with standing up against this party or that party. That's not what mythology should be about. The nitty gritty of our society, our reality like that. They should be there to show us how to respond anytime freedom is encroached upon, anytime one's right to not be bullied is encroached upon. That's what aspirational heroes do. So that's again what I'm going to continue with this year on my channel, and I wanted to get that out and draw that important connection, I think, between what's going on in the world today and what true heroism is. So that's all for now. Like I said, I might be back tonight for a gaming stream. That's the plan right now. Should nothing get in my way. But until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.